Bills Mafia tonight on the Air Raid Hour post-game show. We are diving deep into all things Bills Jaguars. We've got the latest injury updates, major takeaways, and a whole lot more. Stay tuned. This is a breakdown you are not going to want to miss. But first,
welcome to the Air Raid Hour, a Cover One Network podcast. Here are your hosts, Judge Mathis and Tilt Money.
welcome into the Air Raid Hour presented by Picasso's Pizza and the Cover One Sports Network. My name is Steve Mathis. You can find me on Twitter at The Bills Guys. No Tilt tonight. You can catch him tomorrow on the Under Review podcast with Joe DeRosa. So it's just us tonight celebrating the Buffalo Bills 47-10 thumping of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So bear with me this evening. I am solo dolo. There is no producer. I don't have Chris Kepner like Greg and Aaron and all them have. So I'm riding this thing solo this evening. So bear with me, and I'll try my best to get to comments as we go along tonight on this post-game show. Want to start with our news and notes early on because there were a couple of notable things before we get into all the fun things about today's win. And the first thing is the injuries. We always like to talk about injuries first. Tillon Grable was the only notable injury in this game for the Buffalo Bills. He left when he was in mop-up duty with a groin injury. Not a starter. We have Ryan Vandermark, but that does still stink. Some other news, right? Josh Allen is now the MVP front runner. The odds makers in Vegas have declared Josh Allen the MVP front runner. Currently, he is second in completion percentage in the National Football League with a 75% completion percentage. He is first in touchdowns with 9. He is first in interceptions, having thrown none. His only turnover this year was his lost fumble in week 1. He's first in passer rating, 133.7. And he's first in EPA per dropback. So currently, Josh Allen, without a doubt, is the best quarterback currently through 3 weeks in the National Football League. Got Joe DeRosa coming in saying, look at Judge staying up late for our entertainment. Well, it's not that late for me. I'm out here in the West Coast studio here at Cover One in Phoenix, Arizona. So it's only 8:50. But don't expect any yelling and screaming this evening. Is just about 10 feet away through the wall back over there is my sleeping newborn. So I'm not going to be animated. I'm not going to be yelling. I'm not going to be screaming, despite the fact that this was a pretty jovial victory for the Buffalo Bills. It's a good thing they didn't lose, and I had to yell and scream in a different way. Some other notable news and notes. How about Spencer Brown? Got that new contract. He is not allowed a pressure in 3 games. So he is living up to that deal. The Buffalo Bills offensive line is coming together real nice, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit here as well. And Von Miller, 3 sacks, 3 games. He's on pace for 17. He's looking really good. We're going to talk in a little bit here when we get to the defense. Von Miller, Rasul Douglas, they're like the elder statesmen of this defense. You could throw Daquan Jones in there as well. I just really like some of the veteran dudes that the Buffalo Bills have on this defense and the way that they are playing football right now. We've got a super chat coming in here from Justin Tendall. He says, Steph who thought the national media said we had no weapons and we were going to be a 6th or a 7th seed at best. It's still early. And one of the things that I think we need to note is looking at our schedule. We have 3 games on the road the next 3 weeks at Baltimore, at Houston, at the New York Jets. 2 of those games are in prime time, right? It's September, right? Some teams start hot, some teams start cold, and everyone starts to work their way towards the median in October. So I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. I want to enjoy tonight. I want to enjoy this for what it is, but I also want to make sure that we keep a level head on our shoulders a little bit, because even though I really like the way this team is playing football, the next 3 weeks are going to be very, very telling for just how good this football team is. Before we get any further and we get into the offense and defense stuff, this show is brought to you by Picasso's Pizza, with 4 convenient locations in Williamsville, West Seneca, Lancaster, and Blaisdell. It is Buffalo Pizza, and it's been serving you since 1980. Whether you're local or across the country, you can enjoy delicious pizza delivered fresh to your door. Again, visit picassospizza.net to place your order today. All right, let's get into it here. And like I said, I'm by myself, so I'm working sort of the banners and everything by myself. Let's get into our one big thing here this evening. And since Dave's not here, we're going to go with 2 big things tonight, because I want to give the offense the shout out it deserves, and I want to give the defense the shout out it deserves. Let's start with the offense. And hey, as Justin said in his super chat just now, right? Steph who? The mantra of this offense is coming to fruition. Everybody eats. There was 6 touchdowns in this football game for the Buffalo Bills. All were scored by 6 different guys. You had a run by James Cook. You had a run by Ray Davis. You had Dalton Kincaid, Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, Ty Johnson catching touchdowns. This Buffalo Bills offense can attack you in any way. If you are trying to run zone on them, they are going to run the football down your throat, and Josh Allen will just sort of dice you up in whatever zone you are sitting in. If you decide to play man against the Buffalo Bills, and the Jacksonville Jaguars were the first ones to really attempt to play man against the Buffalo Bills, well, the Buffalo Bills have the dudes to beat you in multiple ways. Plus, and we're going to get into this later, Josh Allen running the ball when all those defenders are chasing guys around the field with their backs turned, that's pretty fun and exciting as well. Joe Brady was absolutely in his bag this evening. Looking at the Buffalo Bills drive chart, first drive, James Cook rushing touchdown. Second drive, Dalton Kincaid touchdown. Third drive, Keon Coleman touchdown. That is the point where I posted the image from the Buffalo Bills wild card round against the New England Patriots. I'm like, are we going to get a repeat of the 7 straight touchdown game? And the Buffalo Bills came close, because on the next drive, Ty Johnson with the touchdown. Then we went to half. The Bills came back, kicked a field goal, ended that streak. Then they punted, kicked another field goal. Ray Davis got another touchdown, and the Buffalo Bills then knelt it out. So just an insane, incredible performance by the Buffalo Bills offense. We're going to get into more of the detailed things that the Buffalo Bills did on offense in a little bit. But the second big takeaway I think you have to have for this team is the way this defense is playing, because they are playing incredible as well. No more Micah Hyde, no more Jordan Poyer, no more Trey White. Matt Milano on injured reserve. No Taron Johnson. No Terrell Bernard. You have a new defensive coordinator who's never called plays before. You have 3 new position coaches. I know Anthony Prohaska was pointing that out on the show previous. He was pointing it out on social media. Who cares? Right? Balen Spector, Dorian Williams, Cam Lewis, Jamarcus Ingram, DeMar Hamlin, Taylor Rapp. They just step right the F in, and they hold the Jacksonville Jaguars to 10 points. They held the Miami Dolphins to 10 points last week. They pretty much blanked the Arizona Cardinals in the second half of that football game once they had a chance to adjust. There are just so many guys stepping up. I talked to you about it right at the start of the show. Von Miller and Rasul Douglas, they're like the savvy veterans of this defense, and you can throw Daquan Jones in there as well. And then you just have Rousseau, Oliver, and Epinesa absolutely bringing the heat as pass rushers. Like, they've been incredible through 3 games. Now, we haven't played the staunchest of offensive lines, but guess what? Next week, Baltimore, their offensive line is in shambles. Houston, their offensive line was struggling against Minnesota and what Brian Flores was throwing at them. So let's see if this Buffalo Bills pass rush can keep it up. Then Christian Benford. Can we have a conversation about Christian Benford? Dude, he is one of the NFL's best quarterbacks right now, and nobody's talking about him. He got his flowers during this broadcast, but man, he should be getting more flowers. Him and Rasul Douglas, they might be the best cornerback duo through 3 weeks of the National Football League. I'm not going to call them the best cornerback duo in the NFL. That's foolish. There are guys who have a much longer track record, a much longer history of sustained success. But these 2 dudes working in unison together on the boundaries. Literally no one can complete passes to the boundaries against the Buffalo Bills with any real success. And then you have everyone else just sort of filling in and doing their 111th and making plays. It's absolutely incredible what this Buffalo Bills defense has done the last 2.5 games since they got their act together at halftime of the home opener against the Arizona Cardinals. Their drive chart this evening, 3 and out, forced field goal, Hamlin interception, punt after a huge Jamarcus Ingram sack. Halftime, they forced, the Jaguars to not be able to kick a field goal or do anything really before the half. Passing touchdown allowed. Downs, Von Miller sack led to that. Downs again. Solomon strip sack. Casey Toohill recovers. Downs. That's 2 turnovers, 5 if you count all the downs. Absolutely incredible. Speaking of all those turnovers, let's look in some of the data. One of the things that we like to track here on the Air Raid Hour, right? Complementary football. The Buffalo Bills won all 3 phases of complementary football this week. Time of possession, Jaguars 28-20, Bills 31-40. And honestly, in the second half, the Bills were just letting the Jaguars march down the field because they were just burning clock, just preventing the big plays, letting them milk the clock. They had their 4-score lead. So really, that number is not even realistic, and the Bills still managed to win time of possession. Average starting field position, Jaguars 30-yard line, Bills 41. Turnovers, Jaguars 2. If you want to count downs, 5, Bills 0. The Bills are now 3-0 when winning 2 of those 3 categories. Time of possession, average starting field position, turnovers. They swept all 3 this week. They're 3-0 when playing complementary football. The toxic differential tracker, right? We track toxic differential on the show every week. 10+ yard runs. The Jaguars had 2. They were both in the second half when the Bills defense was just letting them milk the clock. The Bills had 3. And one of the things that we're going to talk about when we start talking about positive takeaways, stock ups in this game, the Buffalo Bills, and we talked about in the pregame show. We told you guys in the pregame show what to expect. The Buffalo Bills utilized the passing game, the short to intermediate passing game, as an extension of the running game. If you want to count all those dump offs to Shakir that went for like 11, 12 yards or 8, 9 yards, the ones that went to Curtis Samuel, the Bills had more than 3 10+ yard runs if you want to consider those runs. Big plays just by dumping the ball off. 15+ yard passes, Jaguars had 2, Bills had 5. So we're already at +4 in the toxic differential. And then you throw in the turnovers. I'm counting the downs as turnovers, +5. The Bills were +9 in the toxic differential in this game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are now 3-0 on the season when winning toxic differential. So let's get now to our stock up in this football game. Our positive takeaways. Honestly, I don't even have really any stock down negative takeaways. There's like a couple of little things you can nitpick here and there. So let's just really spend most of our time here on the stock up. How about Sean McDermott? Going for it twice on 4th down in the first half. He is a modern, aggressive National Football League head coach, right? We need to look at him and we need to be thankful that for the most part, and he has little blips here and there. Like I went and we talked at length with some of the issues I had with his decision in week 1, right? And when we think he screws up, we'll have a conversation about it. But for the most part, Sean McDermott is a modern NFL head coach and is making some very smart analytical decisions. So give credit where credit is due. Sean McDermott going for it twice on 4th down in that first half set the tone for this football team, set the tone for this game. And I think really allowed the Buffalo Bills to really balloon that lead and just completely annihilate any chance the Jacksonville Jaguars had of bringing enough energy to make a comeback in this football game. I mentioned it when we talked about toxic differential and 10+ yard runs. How about using the passing game as an extension of the run game? Shakir on those quick hitters, Samuel on those quick hitters. They tried a few to Knox, weren't as successful, but I think they'll get there because they've had success getting the ball to Knox and dumping the ball off to Knox for Yak in the past. I still need to do the math. Haven't had a chance to go back and rewatch the game, obviously. But if you count those quick hitters as essentially 10+ yard runs, because that's essentially what they are, they're just an extension of the running game. man, that's 6-7 more 10+ yard runs you can add to the toxic differential tracker, right? If not close to 10 yards. That puts us in advantageous second down, second and shorts. That allows us to utilize the play action game on those second and shorts. Like, it just opens up so much for this offense. It puts us in more advantageous positions. The Buffalo Bills need to keep doing that, right? When you are facing a big front like the Jaguars have with guys like Armstead, guys like Walker, guys like Josh Allen Hines, those linebackers they have, use your passing game as an extension of the running game, because the Bills had a solid day on the ground, but it was not spectacular. If the Buffalo Bills had to live on the ground today, this would have been a much closer game. They did their damage through the passing game this game, and they used the passing game as an extension of the run game. And kudos to Josh Allen. That's another thing we talked about in the pregame show. He needs to be able to do that. He needs to do the Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, death by 1,000 paper cuts, be patient type stuff, and he did it. The offensive line, dogs, right? Every single one of them, dog, right? Deion Dawkins, dog. David Edwards, dog. Connor McGovern, dog. Osiris Torrance, dog. Spencer Brown, dog. Even Alec Anderson, when he comes in as the extra offensive lineman, dog. They're all dogs. Every single one of them. Louis Riddick said on the broadcast, it's the best offensive line in the National Football League, right? That might be a little hyperbolic, but he's close. And the Buffalo Bills are zigging while the rest of the league is zagging. Everyone else in the league is looking to add those bona fide $20 million plus receivers, and the Bills are like, nah, we're going to go wide receiver by committee, and we're going to invest in this offensive line. And we are going to make sure that this offensive line can set the tone in the run game, and they can protect Josh Allen. Talked about at the top of the show, Spencer Brown, 3 games, hasn't allowed a single pressure. 100% worth that contract extension. This selfless football the Buffalo Bills are playing. Keon Coleman, Ray Davis getting their first touchdowns on Monday Night Football. How awesome was that? Both of those. Spectacular. 2 awesome dudes, 2 awesome players. We talk about the Buffalo Bills, and Louis Riddick talked about it late when talking about the defensive players. Just focusing on football character. And you can just tell Ray Davis, Keon Coleman, they ooze football character, right? So it was awesome to see those 2 guys get their first touchdowns this week. And I would like to see Ray Davis a little bit more in the red zone, I think. Like, I don't really have any negatives for this game, but like Curtis Samuel draw plays, nah. James Cook, like, I know that we talk about how the players are being a little bit more selfless. Like, they've hinted that James Cook was like, can I get the ball in the red zone more? Can Josh stop, like, pirating some of these tutties? Like, Josh joked about that. And as much as I love James Cook, maybe a little bit more Ray Davis in the red zone. I love the way this guy runs the football. Go and watch John Gruden and his Bills Jaguars little pregame thing. John Gruden's got his own YouTube channel now. John Gruden just oozes over Ray Davis. Like, Ray Davis is a John Gruden style football player. So that was a fun thing to watch before the game. John Gruden just raving about Ray Davis and his football character and just his ability to just be a pure running back. Keon Coleman, he showed that gauntlet drill prowess on that touchdown, didn't he? Streaking across the field, right? 21 miles per hour in the gauntlet. It showed, right? Sticky hands while running and catching the football. It showed. That gauntlet drill showed on that combine gauntlet drill showed on that touchdown for Keon Coleman there. And it was awesome to see him get his first NFL touchdown. Dalton Kincaid, show why he's a dude, right? Big catch, down the field. Then he obviously had that big touchdown, just toe tapping his way in the back of the end zone there, making himself available for Josh Allen off script. That was awesome to see. And then Khalil Shakir, just showing why he's the guy on this. If this offense has a guy, right? James Cook's probably number 1, but like Khalil Shakir, he's the guy. And he might never get the volume to show it statistically, even though, I mean, Nate Geary was talking about this on Twitter. He might be close to setting the record for just catching the ball when targeted. Like, when's the last time this dude was targeted and didn't catch the football? If it happened in this game, I don't remember seeing it. It's been games. Like, this guy is literally the most efficient receiver in football, and no one is really talking about him. So Khalil Shakir is that dude. Whether he'll get the volume to get the national recognition as that dude, who knows? Who knows? But he showed that he is, if there's a guy in this offense, right? Khalil Shakir is that guy. And then you have Curtis Samuel, who I think is still working his way back from injury, and we'll see more and more from him as the season progresses. Dawson Knox, Matt Collins, Ty Johnson, MVS even, all playing roles. And we know that most of those guys can probably produce more if they were asked to produce more. But they haven't been asked because it's a wide receiver by committee. And it's a selfless approach. Awesome to see. Lastly, positive takeaways from the offense. Josh Allen, probably one of his best games as a pro, being patient, taking the easy stuff, taking what the defense gave him, reading exactly what the Jacksonville Jaguars were doing and having an answer for everything they were doing. I remember just thinking back to that third down run early in the game. He saw man coverage. He called an audible, and then he just immediately pump faked and ran up the middle because he knew those edges were coming out wide, and he knew the middle of the defense. Everyone was going to be following the wide receivers. The backs would be turning. He could easily pick up that first down. Awesome stuff, right? So good. It's those little things that make him great. He was 10 for 14 for 104 yards and 2 touchdowns versus man coverage. That is per the ESPN graphic as he was walking off the field and Mitch Trubisky was walking on. So I don't have the website or anything in front of me to double check that, but if you trust the guys at ESPN, that's what he did against man coverage. Why the Jacksonville Jaguars just did not get out of that sooner? Absolutely beyond me, because Josh Allen carved up their man defense. Speaking of defense, let's talk about the Buffalo Bills defense and the positives from the Buffalo Bills defense. As Bobby Babbage says, smart, fast, physical. Dudes are buying in. There's a lot of guys that are gone. There's a lot of guys that are injured. It's just next man up, holding them once again to 10 points. Oliver, Rousseau, Miller, Epinesa, they are setting the tone up front, and everyone else is sort of doing their 111th. Balin Spector, what a game. Dorian Williams, what a game. Playing smart, flying to the ball. Even look at Dorian Williams. His coverage on that wheel route against ATN was awesome, right? So you're seeing Williams develop, and that dude just flies around and he hits people. Like when he lays the lumber on people, he lays the lumber on people. So it's fun watching those two guys play linebacker and just doing their 111th and filling in. I mentioned at the top of the show, Douglas and Benford. They're probably the best cornerback duo in football right now, right? Nobody can do anything on the boundary against these guys. And you have the Jaguars sitting there, not even trying to attack the middle of the field. Yeah. I don't understand what was going through the mind of their coordinators in this game, both Ryan Nielsen and Press Taylor. Press Taylor is not going to be employed by Wednesday. The Jacksonville Jaguars, Doug Peterson will be calling plays next week. I don't care. It's a short week. He's fired. Like, he's so fired. You have Taylor Rapp, DeMar Hamlin. That interception from DeMar Hamlin was just so bittersweet. And then he's coming off the field to in the air tonight playing, and he's just doing that dance, and like he's just going crazy on the sideline. And just the vibes in this game were immaculate. We're going to talk about the vibes of this game towards the end of the show. Just absolutely immaculate. You got my 2 UB guys. I got my name in Roosevelt over my shoulder there, right? Lewis and Ingram combining on that sack, even though Ingram is the only one who got credit for it. Cam Lewis just coming in and filling right in for Teron Johnson, and there's not a drop-off. The Buffalo Bills, nickel is base, right? But you think with Teron Johnson out, well, maybe the Buffalo Bills might have to go and play a little bit more traditional base and bring out a third linebacker. Nope. Not even a little bit. Because Cam Lewis is stepping in and he's doing what he needs to do, and he's being where he needs to be, and he's physical at the line of scrimmage. Is he perfect? No, he had a couple of missed tackles, but he slowed some people down. He had another great game, just filling right in. How, when he was a free agent this offseason, not a single team had been paying attention to the Buffalo Bills and seeing the way he played football and thought to themselves, why not let this guy come in and compete for a nickel job? Is beyond me. Because I'm not saying he's one of the best nickel corners in the league, like a guy like Teron Johnson or Brian Branch are, but like if he was starting somewhere else, or he's doing just what he's doing here, he's top half of the league, nickel corner. He's good. He is an NFL starter, and he's our backup. Like, that's pretty freaking awesome. Kyrie Elam almost had a pick 6. That would have what was left of the crowd at Highmark Stadium would have been absolutely nuts if Kyrie Elam had sixed that Mac Jones throw. And poor Mac Jones, by the way, having now to experience both the wild card beatdown and that beatdown at the hands of Josh Allen. Not a lot of negatives to talk about this evening. The two things I got, Tyler Bass, his mixed extra point. Like, come on, dude. Like, I know it was blocked, but people talk about his low trajectory on his kicks, and just the whole setup seemed very weird. I mean, he hit every single other extra point. He hit a field goal in this game, 2 field goals in this game. So he rebounded pretty well. Nothing's probably going to come out of his missed extra point, just like nothing will come out of his missed field goal last week. And I know kickers aren't perfect, and we're probably just harping on every single little thing that Tyler Bass does at this point, but that was frustrating to see. And the other thing I had that I probably don't care about as much as other people will care about, the James Cook drop, which Khalil Shakir ended up scoring a touchdown like a couple of plays later. It didn't really even matter. Again, football's football, man. Like, you're not going to make every single play. And I'm sure that we have a lot of, bad thoughts in our head because of some of the drops that he had and on passes like that. And when Josh Allen throws it in the basket like that, you like to see the guy make the play, but football's a tough sport. You like to see him make that play, but he's made a ton of plays this year. He'll get an opportunity to make a play like that again. And guys like Ty Johnson are stepping up in a big way as well and augmenting what we do in the passing game. So I'm not as mad about that James Cook drop as maybe some other people are. All right. That should just about do it this evening, right? It's a lot easier when I shouldn't say easier. It's a lot less time consuming when it's just me rambling on and not hearing the way better thoughts that Dave has on what happened and what occurred in this football game. But just some final thoughts before we head out of here this evening. The fans were spectacular. Seeing the John Fina hype up, Eric Wood with a shot of the crowd, like the crowd was incredible. The DeMar Hamlin moment was incredible. The Keon Coleman first touchdown vibes, incredible. Jamarcus Ingram getting another sack, making another big play, vibes, incredible. Excuse me, not used to talking this consistently. Chris Fowler, right? A guy who literally makes a living going to the biggest college football games every week and is called the biggest college football games for like the last 15 years. He came to Buffalo for the first time tonight and was like, this is incredible. This is like an SEC Saturday night, right? The other announcers was like, this is a playoff vibe. Like, the vibes were absolutely incredible from Bills Mafia tonight. There is no fan base like Bills Mafia. We can even throw Vince Carter and T-Mac being at the game. I don't even know why they were there, but they were there. That was absolutely incredible. So thank you guys so much for taking part in this post-game show with me, right? You can catch Tilt tomorrow, right? Joe DeRosa coming in saying, don't worry, Judge. I'll make sure Tilt saves his best thoughts of all time for tomorrow evening's show. You can catch Tilt tomorrow on the Under Review podcast with Joe DeRosa. Don't forget to like this podcast before you head out. Click that share button if you think anyone else would appreciate listening to me ramble on for 28 minutes with you here. And until next time, go Bills.
Thank you for watching tonight's episode of the Air Raid Hour. Make sure to hit that like button on the way out. If you are catching the show on demand, leave a reply in the comments section and we will respond over the course of the week. You can always listen to every episode next day on all major podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify, by searching Air Raid Buffalo. Thank you for your continued support, and as always, go Bills!